Namaskar to all. I am Dr. Rani Gupta, practicing as an Ayurvedic gynecologist at SKK Ayurveda, Janakpuri, New Delhi. Today I will talk about a very crucial topic, enhancing women's quality of life through Ayurveda. Ayurveda, being a complete science of life, not just talks about various gynecological diseases and treatments, but also describes various paricharyas and regimes as a preventive aspect. So we have seen over the centuries, women's role in our society has changed from being only a source of reproduction and only being a housewife to a multitasking female. So she earns for the family while maintaining her previous roles. So our prime concern would be how a woman can maintain her health while performing her duties of being a daughter, a mother, wife, and a professional. So in the different phases of a woman's life, like in the menarche, pregnancy, postpartum phase, menopause, there are various physical, anatomical, and psychological changes which happens. And the demanding lifestyle, the multitasking lifestyle of a woman has made it very difficult to pay attention on their own health, and it starts disturbing hormonal balance, and a normal menstrual cycle also gets disturbed. So currently we see that the chances and incidence of infertility and menstrual problems is constantly increasing. What to do in that case? So we have seen that in spite of, especially in the metro cities, that in spite of a good economical status, availability of good health services, better hygiene, better conditions of a female, still the incidences of lot many diseases like PCOD, endometriosis, infertility are constantly increasing. So we have to find out the solution in our science, in our Ayurveda for that purpose. We see that Ayurveda describes various preventive steps in the form of regimes to achieve health and balance in different phases of a woman's life. We call them paricharyas or regimes. So not just for a woman, but we also see that for general people, there are various charyas or regimes being described in Ayurveda. We call them dincharyas, that is daily routines. We call them seasonal regimes or the ritucharyas. And in our practice, we literally see that if followed properly, so if we make our patients aware of those regimes, it really benefits them a lot. For a female, there are three important regimes being described in our Ayurvedic text. One is Rajaswala Paricharya, which is menstruation regime, Garbhini Paricharya, which is antenatal care, Sutika Paricharya, which is postpartum care. So out of these three, the last two, which is antenatal care and postpartum care, are being taken care of well, because it might be associated with a delivery of a baby or somebody is coming in the family. So these two charyas are still taken care of. But the first one is the most neglected regime, which is not being, the knowledge of this regime is not being passed from one generation of women to another nowadays, because of maybe the nuclear families, our aversion towards ancient traditions, our inclination towards Western way of living. This knowledge of the menstruation regime is being lost. And I believe, being an Ayurvedic practitioner, being handling such kind of issues every day in my practice, that if we follow a menstruation regime, it's not that we have to follow it as such as being written in the text, but still, if certain part of it is being followed and the women can respond properly to the drastic physical and mental changes during the menstrual cycle, and many symptoms which are associated with this can be relieved. But before that, we have to scientifically understand and follow the regime of menstruation. Otherwise, the new generation would not be following it well because they would be considering it as a superstition. So we know that the first practice which is being written in Ayurveda text is that when a female gets her periods, she should be given a food in a separate bowl. A small quantity of food should be given, and she is being secluded from the family. So what is the principle behind this? We believe that there is a natural decrease in the digestive power of the body during periods. So every menstruating lady should have easy to digest food at that time, which is milk, yav, which is jaw, barley, ghee, fruits, and the quantity of food should also be lesser. She should avoid chilled drinks. She should avoid spicy, oily, bakery products, and junk food. There is a traditional practice of keeping that menstruating lady in a separate setting, sitting quietly, not doing any work, not doing any kitchen work, not going outside of the house. The reason is that there is a natural increase of vata dosha, which is a basic element in the body. And to keep that vata flowing in a normal direction, to keep the flow normal, we should avoid any factors which can vitiate vata. So excessive exercising, traveling, workouts should be avoided. Maximum rest and restoring of the energy is required so that we can avoid the vitiation of vata. Mind should be kept calm, relaxed as possible, avoiding stress and anxiety. Again, that concept of vata imbalance coming. We know very well that a lot of hormonal disturbances happens because of the stress, and that stress leads to many problems like PCOD, infertility, etc. So try to keep your mind cool and calm, refrain from any, work which can give you a lot of anxiety and stress, and try to keep yourself stress-free at that time. Sleeping on a hard bed means not sleeping on a very soft bed so that you can get a relief from backache and body aches, not to have a cold bath. The effect of cold water causes some hindrance to the outflow of the menstrual blood. Again, the issue of vitiation of vata comes in. Not listening to loud voice. It is, if you remember, it's mentioned in a lot of Snehipan karmas, when we do Vaman and Virechana, we should not be speaking very loud. We should not be listening to very loud voice, because all these factors can cause imbalances in our doshas, especially vata, and rasa dushti can also happen, which can lead to some imbalances in the body. So basically, if we go in the Panchakarma part, wherein we talk about Vaman, Virechan, Bastis, so when the body is detoxifying, it is in the phase of Agni Mandya, which is our digestive power is low. And our acharyas believe that menstruation is a natural detoxification procedure happening monthly. So we should follow the same pathya and apatyas as being mentioned under Panchakarma or the Shodhana therapies. So to avoid any kind of imbalances of vata and kapha, preventing the formation of ama and restoring of energy, we need to follow the same pathyas and apatyas as being followed during Panchakarma procedures. And that is how, by following these regimes, a woman can respond healthily to the physiological and psychological changes by keeping balance of doshas, Agni and Bala. So by this discussion, I would not say that a woman should sit all together at home and should not do any work. But if we educate her properly about this, at least she considers it, and some minor changes in her lifestyle could be done, which can be of great help in future. So we believe that menstruation regime is the best example of Nidan Parivarjana Chikitsa, which is the prevention of disease. And it can counter the adverse effects of present lifestyle of women. We see a lot of advertisements on television of the sanitary pads, which emphasize that a woman should run during periods, do what men do during periods. Yes, it might be liberating. It might seem a lot of, it is giving a lot of women empowerment. But what I believe is that women are no less. And we should respect our femininity because we are unique. And I emphasize the fact that do what your body and mind needs to do during those days of menstruation. So I would not be discussing another two regimes of because of the two regimes of postpartum phase and pregnancy phase, because that would be too long, and many people still follows that in their life. The next topic where Ayurveda could really help related to the quality of life of women is about the food. How good food and balanced lifestyle leads to better quality of life in women. We see constantly, especially in metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai, that women patients are coming with a lot of metabolic disorders, weight gain issues, PCOD, endometriosis, hypothyroid, diabetes, etc. As per Ayurveda, ekatva or oneness is one of the quality of mind, which means that we cannot concentrate our mind in two different mindful actions. And eating is a complete mindful action, as told by Maharishi Charak, and it should not be combined with any other action or activity. That means when we eat food, we should be completely focused on eating it. We should completely focus all our senses over it. We should hear the sound, popping, the crackling sound. We should hear, we should smell, we should see, we should taste. And that is how the process of eating food and assimilating food is taken care of. So if we are eating food, running around while working on the computer, while driving, this is a kind of multitasking which badly affects health in long term. We also know that when the food is consumed, it is converted into rasa dhatu. And then sequentially, different dhatus like rakta, mans, med, asthi, majja, and finally shukra is formed. And shukra is ultimately the most refined and important of all the dhatus because it is the one which is responsible for reproduction and regeneration in the body. What is shukra? So shukra is present in both males and females. All the hormones, seminal fluid, all the reproductive tissues are representing shukra, while in the females, hormones, vaginal secretions are representing shukra. So definitely if the shukra dhatu is not formed properly, it automatically affects hormones and fertility of a woman. So to have a good quality of shukra dhatu, we should concentrate on our food. And we know that shukra is formed from rasa, which is formed from food that we eat and digest. So this whole metabolic cascade of good nourishment, good digestion, including proper digestion of thoughts, is responsible for good health. The upadhatus of rasa dhatu are artav and stanya. So we have to refine and detoxify rasa dhatu by eating clean, by eating at the proper time, by following all the rituals and methods of eating proper food as given by Acharya Charak to have a good quality of artava and stanya. So anything that affects the rasa dhatu will affect the reproductive health and lactation. If we go back to our text, if we go back to the Charak Samhita and we see the symptoms and signs of rasa dhatu dushti, we can clearly see that how many of the females who are coming to our OPDs every day have mostly more than 50% of the Rasa Dhatu Dushti symptoms in their body. So we have to start right away improving their eating habits, improving their lifestyle, correcting the kind of food they eat according to their prakritis to have their better reproductive and gynecological health. Now, we'll also talk about a very important aspect, which is also something being ignored by us in our OPDs. And it is very important for people to understand the fact that how it is very important to know about the urges. So Ayurveda explains 13 urges or vegas, which should never be suppressed. We should know about these 13 adharaniya vegas. Adharaniya means which should not be suppressed, non-suppressible urges. And if we constantly and habitually suppress these vegas, it can lead to udavarta. And what is udavarta? Udavarta means the natural flow of vata, which has to be there in a certain direction. For example, the apan vata, which is responsible for all the downward movements in the body, like delivery of a child, menstrual flow, secretion of the ejaculation process, excretions from the body like feces and urine and flatus. It should be coming out of the body in a proper manner. But if udavarta happens, means the direction of vayu is not proper, and it can lead to various disorders. So we believe that all the initiations of these vegas and suppression of these vegas or urges is the karma of vata dosha. So either we habitually suppress them or we forcefully initiate them. It can cause the vata dosha's imbalance and leads to various diseases. If you remember one of the Yoni Vyapada, Udavarta, and if you find out the symptoms of Udavarta, closely resembles endometriosis. And we literally find in our practice that most of the patients of endometriosis are basically the women who are multitasking, who are overstressed, and definitely the females who are working for more than 18 hours a day in offices and at home. They would be suppressing some of the urges habitually. And that might lead to that udavarta or endometriosis prevalence in the nowadays. So the disturbed artha pravriti or irregular menstruation is the outcome and clinical picture of vega avrodha. There is one very interesting fact. We talked about the suppression and initiation of urges being the karma of vata. So literally when the females nowadays are on hormonal therapies, they basically, those hormones, artificial hormones, create a synthetic hormonal condition in the body, and which is a kind of forceful initiation of menstruation. And sometimes there is a hormonal suppressive therapies where females are not getting their periods for 6 months, 1 year, which has been artificially suppressed. So both of these conditions, which are created because of these hormonal therapies, also come under the category of vega avrodha. This leads to even severe vata imbalance, and the problem worsens when they are taken off the hormones. Sleep disturbances, stress are the prime causes of elevation and misdirected motion of vata. And it leads to a condition of udavarta as per Acharya Charak. So how Ayurveda can help in these conditions? First and foremost is we should understand its benefits ourselves as a practitioner, and we should give awareness of these causes to the patient. And I have seen that people, when they get the scientific understandings behind these preventive aspects, they start adopting it in their life and they get immense benefits out of it. Thereafter, if a patient has come with a disease, we have to do certain detoxifications. We know that in females, most of the disorders happens because of vata imbalances. So some of the panchakarma treatments like Virechana, if not proper, we can give Sadhya Virechana, we can give mild Virechana, followed by Vasti Chikitsa. Depending upon the severity of symptoms, we can give Kal, Karm, Yog, Vasti patterns of treatments. Thereafter, we can follow it up with Ayurvedic medicines, dietary advices according to their Prakriti, Vikriti, Dosha, Agni, and so on. And the lifestyle advices should also be given. So a little bit introduction to the Yoni Vyapats. So basically we have read Yoni Vyapats in Charak Samhita and Sushruta Samhita. So these are basically the signs and symptoms of all gynecological disorders. And according to the dominance of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, we can easily figure out that what kind of panchakarma, what kind of medicines are to be given. We also understand that Vata is the main dosha responsible for gynecological disorders. All the Yoni Vikaras, all the gynecological disorders happen. There is definitely some involvement of Vata. It can be either, there might be some avaran with Kapha, nowadays very common, or it can be alone responsible for the problem. So in that case, various kind of Vasti Chikitsas are really helpful. And we can actually detoxify the patient initially with Panchakarma followed by Ayurvedic medicines. So if at that stage, when a patient has come to you in the early conditions, simple detoxification and medicines can really help, and we can avoid that patient, that female, to land up into infertility and other issues. The causes of Yoni Vyapats, as being written in our Samhita, are improper food and lifestyle. Again, we already discussed how good quality of rasa being formed from proper food intake is again finally coming up to Shukra. So food and lifestyle are really important. Hormonal disturbances, genetic causes, and some unknown causes. Here I have given a small table for a simple understanding of the fact that even if we are not going to name a disease in a patient, in a gynecological patient or a female, we can simply classify various symptoms in a female in terms of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So by a simple understanding of which kind of symptom in a female is of Vata type, which is of Pitta type, and which is of Kapha type, we can very well make dietary changes, lifestyle changes, Panchakarma treatment, and Ayurvedic medicines according to that. So in Vata, we see that the patient is associated with vaginal pain, dryness, frothy discharges or menstrual blood, dysmenorrhea, amenorrhea, dyspareunia, infertility, pricking pain, and the menstrual blood is usually scanty, thin, frothy, and blackish in color. While the Pitta symptoms shows tenderness in the vaginal area, foul smelling discharges, purulent discharges, inflammations, burning sensations, multiple abortions, menorrhagia, usually PMS associated with anger, irritation. Menstrual blood is usually excessive, hot, smelling, and red in color. While the Kapha symptom are moistness or kind of feeling in the groin areas, itching, excessive sexual desire, thick white discharges, heaviness, weight gain, lethargy, sleepiness, and menstrual blood is usually thick with clots and yellowish in color. Then after comes the last phase in the female's life, wherein we have to focus on improving the quality of life at that time. So this menopausal phase comes between 45 to 55 years. Estrogen, which is the predominant female hormone responsible for menstruation and ovulation, is similar to the Agni. The quality of estrogen is considered as the qualities of Pitta or Agni. And the gunas of Agni or Pitta are gradually being transformed into gunas of Vata. Therefore, during menopause, there is a transition from Pitta to Vata. So when a female who is approaching menopause comes to us, we have to understand whether her symptoms are Vata dominated, Pitta dominated, and Kapha dominated. So I have tried to make a small table of understanding these three kinds of symptoms. So in a Vata dominant menopause, we see that the female complains of nervousness, anxiety, insomnia, hot flashes, poor skin tone. So the skin elasticity is lost and she starts losing her skin tone. Constipation issues comes up and there is vaginal dryness. While in a Pitta dominated menopause, we see that female, most of the, if the son or daughter-in-law or a daughter comes with her, she says that my mother gets angry very easily. So anger outbursts are there. Irritability, short temper, hot flashes and night sweats, frequent UTIs, urinary tract infections might be there, and skin rashes. While in a Kapha dominated menopause, we see that the female usually complains of that heaviness in the body or puffiness in the body or any willpower to exercise or to get up and to do some work is being gone. Other symptoms may include weight gain, sleepiness, sluggishness, fungal infections, especially in the vaginal areas, slow digestion, and fluid retention. So how Ayurveda can help? So we cannot make a fixed plan to handle menopause. We have to consider the fact that Ayurveda is always a science which makes tailor-made treatments for individuals. So we have to understand the dosha involved. And then after we can plan a Panchakarma accordingly. We can use Ayurvedic medicines. We have to advise diet, advise lifestyle, and this can help the menopausal female to come out of those symptoms. Thank you so much.